The final programme of this series will be shown tomorrow morning at 11:30 and again at 5 to 11 tomorrow evening. Also, tomorrow morning in Sunday worship, Mass for Easter Day comes live from St. Peter's in Rome, celebrated by Pope John Paul II at 9:30. And then that'll be followed at 11 o'clock by Urbi Et Orbi, the traditional Easter blessing by the Pope to the world.
Tomorrow, the return of Everyman and a new series which includes the kibbutz experiment. In Israel, 40 years on, the traditional kibbutz, the workers' society with workers' control, where there's no crime, no unemployment and no poverty, is in deep crisis. In the first of two programmes on child abuse, a portrait of a remarkable woman.
Jeanette Roberts is the mother to 42 children. They're the abused, the neglected, the physically or mentally handicapped, the orphaned and the unacceptable. A new generation for whom Jeanette is determined to break the chain of abuse.
And 20 years after the death of Martin Luther King, Montgomery's black citizens assess just how far they've progressed along the road to the promised land.
The rights that we have, we've not always had. They don't realize that our parents and our grandparents had to fight for those rights. And I guess they don't realize that they can lose them.
Everyman returns tomorrow at 10:05 on BBC1.
And Radio 1 presents its tribute to Martin Luther King tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock with The Dream, a dramatic picture in sounds and music. This is BBC1, and now Anne Nightingale introduces Late Night in Concert.
Hello and welcome to Late Night in Concert, which tonight features Barclay James Harvest in what turned out to be an historic night in East Berlin. In 1980, the band had played on the steps of the Reichstag on the west side of the Berlin Wall. 250,000 West Berliners saw that concert, and another estimated 250,000 East Berliners heard the music from the other side of the wall. 7 years later, Barclay James Harvest were invited to play a special concert in East Berlin to celebrate the 750th anniversary of the city. It was the first ever open-air concert there by a Western rock band and reflected rock glasnost in 1987. The tickets went on sale for the concert to be held on an island called the Isle of Youth, which could accommodate 10,000 people. 50,000 applied for tickets, so the venue was moved to Treptow, the Russian Memorial Park, and eventually Barclay James Harvest played to 150,000 East Germans. And the park being only a mile from the border, this time the music was to be heard wafting back over the wall from east to west. The band was not paid a large amount of money for doing the concert, but instead the East Germans made them a present of the film they shot that night. And here it is, Barclay James Harvest in East Berlin.
East meets West in the world of rock again next Friday when Billy Joel takes his own brand of rock and roll to Leningrad in an historic concert including Uptown Girl and Angry Young Man. That's at 9:30 on BBC2 next Friday evening. A look ahead to our programmes tomorrow evening here on 1. At 6:40, Songs of Praise for Easter comes from Ely Cathedral, and then at 7:15 we come to our major film this bank holiday weekend, as Peggy Ashcroft, Nigel Havers and Alec Guinness head a star cast in David Lean's Academy Award-winning epic A Passage to India by E.M. Forster. Following the news, at 10:05, Everyman returns for a new series, beginning with a visit to Montgomery, Alabama, centre of the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s, to find out the present realities behind the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King, who was assassinated 20 years ago this week. We come to the final programme in the Gospel according to St. Mark at 5 to 11, followed by more advice on making rock music in Rock School at 11:05. And the Asian Affairs magazine Network East is at 11:30 tomorrow night on BBC1. A look at the weather forecast now. Any remaining showers will soon die out to leave a cold night with frost in the north and some ground frost in the southeast. Most places will stay dry tomorrow with some sunshine, but over Wales and northwest England it will be cloudier, perhaps with the odd shower, and some cloudier weather is likely in northwest Scotland later. Most places will become quite warm by the afternoon, but near the Channel coasts the easterly wind will keep it somewhat cooler. And that's the weather forecast. And the time, almost 22 minutes to 1, and BBC1 is closing down. So on behalf of all of us here, may I wish you a very good night. Good night from BBC1.